Okay, so Tai Lopez is, for those of you who don't know, Tai Lopez was a pretty profound like social media marketer back in like 2018, 2019. I think that's when he really popped off, or maybe it was before that, maybe like 2015 even. Um, he was really popular. He had like a super viral YouTube ad where he basically says like, here in my garage, I have my Lamborghini, but what's more important than material things is knowledge. And then he pans the camera. You see a bookshelf in his garage loaded with books. And the idea being that like, oh, he loves books so much that he ran out of room inside of his house. And now he has like bookshelves in his garage. Anyway, Tai Lopez was kind of had this like infamous, he was infamous. Yeah, he had like this kind of, like, some people loved him, some people hated him. He was kind of almost like a cult leader, somewhat like controversial because lots of people thought of him as like a sort of scammer slash con kind of guy. But then other people were, really liked him because he's pretty inspiring and very successful. Yeah. And lately, so he took like a 2 or 3 year break from social media from like 2019 to like recently, like 2023. He's been doing like a podcast circuit lately, and I listened to a few of his pods.
Yeah.
But I was curious, like, what do you think about Tai Lopez initially?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up this topic, because the thing with Tai Lopez is, to get to my point, is that I do take a lot from what he says. I listen to what he says, and it's funny because Tai Lopez, like you said, he's infamous, he's controversial. If you go into his comments, it's half of people saying, so inspiring, thanks Tai, and then the other half is like just Tai spewing stuff he knows nothing about, or this guy is a scam artist, don't listen to anything he says. Like, people either hate him or love him. And I just think it's funny because I can't help but kind of come to the conclusion, like many other influencers that you may hear talk about, how haters are just like, even though a lot of their points you could call them valid, like things that people criticize other people on, it's like they have a point. But the thing is, I don't even know how to describe this, but it's like people who people who take those excuses and just die on that hill, they never end up seemingly doing anything, and they stay a hater, they stay a critic, they stay someone who just forces themselves to stay on the sideline. It's like nothing in life that you do is going to be perfect, and you're never going to, do something and it's completely going to altruistically satisfy everyone's philosophy in every single way. So it's almost like whenever you do something, you're cutting off the possibility to be branded as something else. So my point is, you can't please everyone with everything that you do, and you got to take the good, but also with the bad. So I think, for example, in Tai's case, like, he sells information, he sells courses. That's how he made a lot of his money on the initial YouTube ads. People may argue, well, Alex, that isn't the most expert information, right? He's probably in those cases a lot of times leveraging other people who have started this business model, and he's simply having them on as like an expert coach and like working with them to provide this course. And a lot of times it's even like kind of beginner information or intermediate information. It's not like super excellent high expertise type of information, and it's like, well, that's fair, because maybe he's getting beginner people in and selling them a beginner doable model that they can actually utilize, right? So, it's not perfect, but he was able to make it work, and he made a lot of people actually a lot of money in his different things like SMMA and things like that. So my point is, like, I actually follow him and listen to what he says, because it's very basic but true in a lot of cases. And yes, he does have his unique quirks of, he's really big into personalities and stuff like that. And I've also listened to a lot of his podcasts. I listened to the I think his name is Dan Bilyeu. I listened to that one. I listened to a couple. Tom Bilyeu. Yeah. I listened to that one, a couple others. And he's just a funny, interesting guy. I think that's part of it as well. And another thing that you were saying is, when he did come back to social media recently, a big thing he was talking a lot about is personal branding and how to make money as a personal brand, So if you listen to any of his new content, you'll definitely hear that theme of personal brand in some of his more recent advice. And that's kind of what we're doing here on the pod. We're trying to get ourselves out there on the internet and get over all of these limiting beliefs and excuses of Chris and I, we're not the smartest people ever. And a lot of our thoughts and our talking points may or may not be correct or, spot on, or we may not be fully knowledgeable in these subjects, but we're simply giving our thoughts and our opinions. You guys can take them or leave them, but we're getting ourselves out there and we're creating, we're putting ourselves out there and making a brand and a name for ourselves. So, I think Tai would pretty much approve of that idea and that concept. And yeah, so it's not perfect. We're taking the good with the bad, but we're putting ourselves out there. And yeah, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about Tai Lopez is he falls into this category of like, he initially made a lot of money on the internet. I call them enablement products. Basically, any sort of product that's supposed to enable somebody to go make money for themselves. And those products, what is it called?
It's called BizOp, business opportunity, how to make money online.
Perfect. Yeah. BizOps. So he sells those kinds of products which inherently have some number of the customers unsuccessful, right? You're going to have some people that try to use the thing to make money for themselves, and they're just not going to be able to do it. And whether that's, you could have a very competent person, but they might just go after the wrong opportunity using your tool to go try to make themselves money. Like, I don't know, if you're selling to a very tiny niche and you're trying to use social media marketing, it may just not work. I don't know. I think that's always going to be a category where you're going to have some people that are not successful and they're going to push back and they're going to say, hey, this doesn't work. You're a con artist, you're a scammer. And I think that's partially what happened with Tai. But another thing that is interesting too is like Tai used lots of the tools that, frankly, lots of good marketers do. Like Tai sold the after photo, right? If you're selling a weight loss product, you don't want to talk about all of the things you're going to do to help them lose weight. You want to tell them how they're going to look after, how they're going to feel after, right? Like you want to sell the after photo of the weight loss. But Tai sold the after photo in the sense that in all of his ads and marketing, he would be doing something really cool. He'd be on a boat. You'd see the ocean, the sunshine, beautiful women, the Lamborghinis, the cars, the mansions, the basketball court in his backyard, like the tennis courts on his property. Like you'd see all of this stuff, and then you're like, he himself is the after photo, and he's basically saying you can do this too, and that's valuable because one, I think it's like good marketing because you're basically saying, hey, look, if you do the right things, you can also be successful. And I think that's a good way to like inspire and motivate. But the only thing is like, if you have people where the product is not, doesn't work for them, or maybe they're just not competent, or maybe they are lazy, or they're not actually following all the instructions in your information product, then you have people that are haters. And I think that's what happened. I mean, Tai did the sort of classic, check out my Lamborghini, you can get one too, just follow these steps. And, obviously lots of people, even people that never bought his product, never used his product, calling him a scammer just because it seems like that scammer type of vibe where it's like, hey, you can have a Lamborghini too. What I find fascinating about Tai is that, one, he had a pretty interesting like path to where he is now. Do you know a lot about his upbringing? I don't know too much, but I could give a little synopsis if you don't.
So he was mentored, or he was I started working on a farm, I believe, for Dr. David Buss. He was working on a farm for somebody, Joel Salatin, yeah. And then Dr. David Buss is one of his mentors he always talks about. But yeah, Joel Salatin.
He was so I believe he worked on David Buss's farm, and then he interned for Elon Musk, and then he no, I'm just kidding. I'm with a totally messed up story.
I was close. But I wanted to add real quick, let's get into Tai's background here momentarily. But I think one thing with his marketing style of kind of painting the glamorous lifestyle is like, you do have to manage expectations when you're marketing and be ethical in your marketing. And I think Tai flirted that line a bit because he always would show off the mansions, the Lamborghinis. Like he was really just pumping like high end, like, not promising people that they would become millionaires in the mansion, but like he was kind of flirting that line a lot. So when you do get people in on any product or service, like take the good from what Tai is kind of displaying of like, sell the promise, sell the vacation, but you do have to be ethical about it and kind of manage that expectation when you do get someone in your product, because you're never going to be able to give someone the Lamborghini every single time if you're selling them a business opportunity. So, very simple concept, manage expectations. But of course, when selling, sell the vacation, as Alex Hormozy would say. But yeah, let's get into Ty's background. Chris, apparently you know it a little bit
I
better
don't
than
know it
I
that
do.
well. Do you know it?
I mean, so he was on the farm, kind of exposed to the idea of the Amish lifestyle of simple living, and I think that kind of had an influence on him. He eventually, I think, wanted to start making money at some point. He was homeless in a mobile home, whatever, like he said, um, and and Chris, you can probably fill in the blanks here, but you know, he really he really has kind of ended up wanting to kind of succeed in all pillars of life. So he got money, and I think now he's wanting to, really be successful in like dating and relationships and health, right? So he talks a lot about the good life, health, wealth, finances, etc. So he talks a lot about how to optimize your health, how to optimize your relationships. But yeah, his background's a little murky for me as well, but there was a farm in there, some Amish lifestyle in there, some down bad, little money in there, and I think he really made it through the OG YouTube and Google ads. I think he talks about how he was one of the first advertisers. So I think digital ads really gave him his start.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much right. I think there's one piece that I could add. So from what I remember, he was born to like his mom was, I think, German, and his dad was Puerto Rican, but his dad was apparently like a gangbanger in California, and then was imprisoned, like put into prison. I think Tai says he didn't really see his dad much growing up. Was pretty poor. I think he ended up moving to, I don't know if he worked on a farm in North Carolina, but he worked he moved to a farm, or worked for the Amish on a farm in his teen years. And then he worked for Joel Salatin on a farm as well. And then he started getting into the club promotion. So he would promote for a club, I think, and he would use lots of different strategies to market and get people in the club, right? And you can kind of see how this path then leads him towards social media marketing. But yeah, basically what he would do is he would figure out all the different tools. He would use the internet to get people in the clubs, and then he started, like, I think, opening his own clubs and running his own clubs with, I think, his cousin. And so he kind of went down that and did that fairly successfully, and then branched out into just doing internet marketing for, I think, other businesses, and then basically ended up creating his own information product and selling it on the internet using YouTube ads, Google ads, all that good stuff. But yeah, he is a pretty profound success story, I think, now. So okay, so that's how he grew up. But Alex, I'm really curious, what do you think is his goal now, right? Because he just he told me, so, and he told me, but he said in the podcast, basically from like 2014 to like 2019, he was really active on social media, and then like from 2019 to 2023, he quote unquote hibernated his brand. That's what he said. And then lately he's come out and he's been on these podcasts talking largely about personality, health, like dating and relationships, stuff like that. What do you think is his goal? Why is he coming back onto the scene? Because I don't think it's just because like those are his interests. I think he has like a plan here. Do you know about his acquisitions that he's made? Like, he's doing a lot of investing.
Yeah, so similar to, I guess you could say, even Alex Hormozy. Maybe Alex Hormozy is kind of taken after Tai, but Tai purchased Pier 1, or at least the e-commerce side of Pier 1. He might own a majority in Pier 1 Imports. I think he also bought I don't want to speculate too much.
I think.
Radio Shack. Yeah, I think I was going to say that. So I think he purchased those companies, or a majority share, or the e-commerce store of those. Oh, and bodybuilding.com. So I think his strategy is like acquisitions and using digital ads, online stuff to grow those companies and e-commerce and stuff. And in doing that, I think he just recognizes the power of personal brand, I think. So he's just trying to get his face out there again, because he knows that that's a really powerful thing. So I think he's getting back out there because personal brand, probably because he wants to make more acquisitions. And in some of his recent videos, he talks about how a good business model is to solve the problems of really rich people. So, who has money? Rich people. Okay, solve their problems, i.e. help them make more money, right? So I think one of his products that he's going to be really trying to push forward is like mentorship for like really high level entrepreneurs, where he can sell like multiple 6-figure packages pretty much, and like charge someone like 200K or 50K or whatever to mentor them, or tell them, hey, run this ad or whatever, or purchase an equity stake in their company, or just simply purchase more companies. So to answer your question, I think his next moves are high ticket mentorship, purchasing equity stakes, or buying companies outright, and growing his personal brand. So yeah, I think he's trying to do all of the above. And I also, of course, continue to optimize his health and relationships.
Interesting. So do you think that, so you kind of gave me an idea. So similar to how Alex Hormozy is basically giving away tons of very valuable content for free, with the hopes that one day, people will be willing to let him invest in their companies. Do you think Tai might be kind of using that same strategy, but for his high ticket mentorship? So imagine if you have a self-selection filter where only people that can pay you 250K, 500K for, a little bit of mentorship from you, if those people can afford you, chances are they are pretty successful in business, and you can make a sound investment in a company that's already successful enough to afford someone the ability to pay you 250K. So it's almost like a filter that allows you to invest in companies, and they already are willing to pay you, Tai Lopez, a lot of money. So you'd probably be a preferred investor if he could get them. That might actually be one of his strategies as well, is to just use social media to get deal flow, basically, which is what Hormozy does.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's learning from Hormozy or if Hormozy is learning from him, but yeah, it seems like a similar thing.
Well, I mean, Tai has not said this, at least. He's not said like, oh, hey, like, let me know if you're an entrepreneur and you want to invest. He's only talked about the mentorship. He's only talked about his, and the other interests. He's never said like, oh, if you want to mentor or you want me to invest, let me know. It's only the mentorship thing. But I would imagine that there's probably an angle for him that he is, he's probably looking to do that as well. I'd be surprised if he wasn't, but
yeah,
I think there's also something interesting here, because have you visited his website? Like, what is it called? 12 types?
yeah. I've done the personality test. I think I'm
okay.
Yeah.
So if you guys are listening right now, go to 12types.com, spelled like it sounds, and you'll notice here, this is Tai Lopez's website. And there are three tabs at the top: ideal career, 4 motivations, and worldview. If I'm not mistaken, 12 types is also its own test, but basically he's created like 4 different like personality tests lately. And I find this very strange because they're all free. They all ask for demographic information. So like they all ask, they want your phone number, they want this and that, and you can't get your results unless you put in your phone number, like your age, your gender, like all this stuff. And I'm really surprised, because he talks about these tests on every single podcast he's been on. He has mentioned this test. He said, go to 12types.com and look at this test. And he harps on the importance of like knowing what which of the 4 motivations describes you and like how you think. And I find it super interesting. Like, what is the purpose of all this data gathering? I think he's got a plan for it. I think
for the data.
Well, I mean, the data itself is like, it's not that useful to him. I mean, he's going to get probably a few 100,000, maybe a million or 2 responses on those surveys. But I'm just super curious, like, what is the purpose of this? Why does he want all that data? What is he going to use it for? I think he's going to launch a product. I think he's going to launch a product, and he's going to target it, and he's going to be able to text you exactly, something for your personality type or something like that. He's going to be able to say like, hey, you got to buy this product. It's good for your personality type. He also has a fitness quiz. I don't know what that one's called, but he has another website where you can take like a fitness quiz and get your like fitness type to figure out how you can best train or something. He really likes this model of personality types. There's something here that I think he really likes. And by the way, I was thinking about this. So there's a company called Working Genius. Working Genius basically does personality types, but for companies. So if you buy the Working Genius like package, and you have to pay for every individual person that takes the test. So you can buy like links. So like I bought a link for Alex. He's gonna take my personality test. I'm his manager, and he's gonna like, I'm gonna learn about how he works so that I can more optimally like utilize him within my company, and we can all work together harmoniously. Blah blah blah. But that's a very interesting business to me, because your company's team is always changing. These team reports that that Working Genius will generate for you can be done on a company-wide basis. So imagine like you're having lots of, like, maybe you have like, 5 new employees a year, maybe you lose 2 employees. You're going to want a new Working Genius team map so that you can get a new sense of like, okay, well, how can everybody work together in the most optimal way? And in the same way, there's probably some angle here with these personality tests. I think there's an angle here with personality tests, or just online tests in general, that I think there's an angle that he's working toward. And I'm just super curious what it is. What do you think it is?
Call me naive, but I thought he was just really interested in personality types in order to pretty much have better relationships, in order to kind of read people better. He talks a lot about, I'm one of the best people reading others, right? He always talks about how he thinks he's a great determinant of character, or like, determiner of character. So I think I thought it was something he was just fascinated in. He wanted to collect the data. He wanted to, maybe sell information regarding personality types. Yeah, maybe you could sell a personality product to businesses. I didn't think there was a super huge angle there. I thought it was more or less something he was interested in. Maybe he could launch some type of product along the way with it.
Yeah, I think he's going to launch something, or he's going to use this data to go cross sell you on something else.
He's definitely building a list. He gets your phone number and email.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
But you can always opt out. But
yeah. Okay, interesting. Anything else on Tai Lopez?
Nah, I think we've talked a lot about him, but let us know in the comments, guys, what you think. Like I said, I personally like to take his advice. I feel like people like fall harshly on one side or the other. To me, it's just like, why not try to see success leaves clues. So why not try to investigate this person and listen to what they have to say? Because like him or hate him, think he's fronting or not fronting, he's definitely successful. And like I said, I like to take advice from successful people and see what they do. And he's a likable guy. He's got some good charisma and some very cool, interesting points about travel, relationships, and personalities and stuff. So I follow him. I listen to what he has to say.
He's also got a really, really interesting way of communicating. Like, have you noticed when he's on a podcast, he's like, you know how like, I don't know, somewhere over the last like 5 years, YouTubers caught on to the trick of like doing lots of like cuts in their video. And the idea is like, you just want to like keep the viewer's attention as much as possible. And like, you basically just cut up your video so much that like everything just like flows together super quickly, and nobody loses like their attention span is, everybody's attention span is really short. So if you have lots of like little bits of content in like your YouTube video, you're going to get like a longer watch time. People are going to like your content more. Mr. Beast obviously nailed this really early on, but I find it interesting. Tai Lopez literally talks like a well-cut YouTube video. He will literally go down like a rabbit hole, and he'll just cut himself off and just like start talking about something else, and he'll just cut himself off. Like, it's like every 5-10 seconds, he's just like boom, boom,
jumping
boom,
around.
New piece of content, new facts, new interesting thing. He'll talk about something. He'll be like, well, what's actually really interesting about that is that this, and this, and that guy's actually super interesting because he had this whole thing back in like 1950. But he had, that's how he talks. It's super. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. In dating and stuff, when you're courting somebody, talking to them for the first time, they say going on tangents and just being off the wall and just kind of bouncing around, not keeping things too like, all right, well, let's completely flesh out this question and then let's ask you this question. Like, just jumping off the walls, like, oh, and there's that. Did you see that dog over there? Oh my, that dog is so cute. Yo, it is cold outside. It is really cold. Like, just bouncing around like that is more apparently engaging. And yeah, it seems like he definitely has that kind of conversational style, because he'll just go on tangents constantly on these pods. Like, he'll jump around through 10 topics when the interviewer will ask him like one thing. So yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I will tell you one thing. I feel like I used to be more naturally like that. Maybe that's my own read of myself. But what I found is that that's so bad if you're trying to like communicate something important to like a member of your team in a company, because you cannot like maintain the weight importance of like one thing you're trying to get across if you're bouncing all around. It's impossible. It's actually a very, very bad way to communicate if you're trying to communicate important things to other people within a company. So it's like, it's good for like engagement and keeping somebody like
entertainment,
but it's not good for, frankly, like clear communication.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch a podcast with him, like you won't really have a takeaway. You're just like that was just like a lot of interesting stuff that happened. I don't
Yeah.
even know like what was the podcast about. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. It was just